The Auto Union back at the Nürburgring, with two-stroke fog at the starting line. The DKW Armada starts the first round. For the first time at the Nürburgring, we are experiencing a race with normal cars that have not been tuned up but are just as they are found in day-to-day traffic. A chance for enthusiastic drivers to see if they own a fast vehicle. In 1953, the DKW Sonderklasse was the most successful touring car in Europe. The 100 championship titles and 150 total victories that DKW had won by the 1960s in national and international events also included class victories in the Monte Carlo Rally. In the meantime, the three-cylinder engine developed back in 1939 was being used to drive the cars, and the DKW 3-6, later 1000, was among the most popular models of its day. Meanwhile, a new factory was built in Ingolstadt for the production of 250,000 small cars a year. The laying of the groundstone was celebrated in 1958, and just over a year later, the first DKW Junior rolled off the assembly line. Comfort and convenience when driving, an easy-to-grip steering wheel with a recessed hub, a fuel gauge, a heating and ventilation system, seats contoured to fit the body, and a dashboard that is resilient to impact and reflectionless. All standard equipment on this car. And how smoothly it rides. 4-speed transmission, with fully synchromesh, of course. 92% window glass area, enabling you to see unhindered in all directions and take in everything going on around you. Here is the luggage compartment. It has what it takes for the longest of journeys. You can easily take off for a few weeks. No distance is too far for this car. No mountain too steep, no curve too sharp, no surface too slippery. And its braking is accurate to the millimeter. The DKW Junior, your key to happiness. Your Auto Union dealer has one waiting for you. Why not take a test drive? Even though the two-stroke era inevitably came to its end with the F102, the cars with the four rings on the radiator grille had contributed greatly to the acceptance of front-wheel drive, a concept they persisted with despite the commonly acknowledged preference for the rear engine with rear-wheel drive in the press. Bernd Rosemeyer Jr., who in those days occasionally did test driving for the Auto Union, was convinced by the car's excellent handling characteristics. There is nothing we can add to his assessment. You can find yourself in this situation or a similar one any time. Then it is important that you have a safe car. This car is a safe car, thanks for the most part to its front-wheel drive. Since the end of the 1950s, the Auto Union had belonged for a period to the Daimler-Benz Group, which sold it to Volkswagen in 1965. The result was the first four-stroke engine, with a body very like the F102, shown at the 1965 International Automobile Show. The new chief designer was Dr. Ludwig Krauss, who remained in Ingolstadt after having served there as liaison for Daimler-Benz. The first Audi was derived from the DKW F102 and an engine that we had in part brought with us from Mercedes, the so-called medium compression engine. It went into action in August, and from then on, the losses we had suffered fell to nil, and profits started to come in again. Krauss was not content merely to update the models that the parent company had inherited, and therefore began secretly to design a totally new model. In the meantime, Leiding was appointed chairman as the representative from VW, and the critical moment came when he once visited our styling hall without my knowledge. We had a curtain there, and the new Audi 100 was behind the curtain. Typically for Leiding, he went behind the curtain, then called me over and said more or less, "Tell me, what's this new car supposed to be?" What indeed was the purpose of this most attractive prototype if it was not to be approved for volume production? And so, Krauss and Chief Executive Leiding decided that attack was the better form of defense and invited the entire group management from Wolfsberg to Ingolstadt, then let the cat out of the bag. I set up a row of chairs for them to sit on. Then I got up in front and held a short speech about what the car was intended to be and the business I thought it would bring. We uncovered the car, and Nordhoff could obviously no longer be kept in his seat. He walked around it, and I accompanied him. As we were about 3/4 of the way around the car, he said, "A very, very good-looking car." So I stuck up my thumb so that Nordhoff could not see it, but Leiding, who was walking behind me, could see it. Because the night before, Leiding had said, "Tomorrow we are going to get drunk no matter what happens. Either because they throw us out or because we win through." With the totally new Audi, the successful renaissance of the make that August Horch had named took place almost 70 years after Horch had built his first car. This is also how far the tradition of car making in Neckarsulm goes back. Since 1901, NSU motorcycles have been produced there. In 1906, the first car rolled out of the NSU factory in the town between the Neckar and the Sulm rivers. It was called the Sulmmobil. Here too, championship laurels from the sporting world were used to make the car better known. Right from the start, hundreds of victories in a variety of different competitions proved that NSU motorcycles were capable of dealing with the most grueling conditions. In 1925, August Momberger drove a 60-horsepower supercharged NSU racing car to win the most important German Grand Prix for sports cars. It put the entire racing elite in its place, including renowned names such as Mercedes, Bugatti, etc. In the 1950s as well, NSU hurried from one triumph to the next, with top drivers such as Werner Haas, Robert Holaus, Wilhelm Hertz and H.P. Müller. The Renmax and Renfox racing motorcycles achieved many an attention-getting success. The world record runs made in the so-called flying deck chair, designed by graphic artist Gustav Adolf Baum, created a sensation. In 1955, this was the biggest motorcycle factory in the world, and 2 years later, NSU began building cars again. On February the 1st, 1957, on the NSU test rig, a Wankel rotary engine was run successfully for the first time. In 1963, the Wankel Spider was introduced at the German Automobile Show, the very first production car with a rotary engine. The NSU Row 80 with twin-rotor Wankel engine has been in existence since the spring of 1967. The car charmed everyone with its magnificent futuristic styling, an impression overshadowed slightly at first by a certain lack of reliability on the part of the unconventional power unit. In 1969, Volkswagen took over the NSU Motorworks, merging it with Auto Union to form the Audi NSU Auto Union AG. The model series begun by Krauss was completed with the Audi 80 and the Audi 50. These Audi models not only conquered new markets because of their harmonious overall concept, but also because they demonstrated the courage to enter new areas of technological design. We can see a certain historical logic in this, for instance in the fact that, thanks to detail work in the wind tunnel, Audi was able to present the third-generation Audi 100 as the production limousine with the lowest drag coefficient in the world. Those earlier speed records of over 400 kilometers an hour served as the prelude to what has been achieved today. Basic design considerations were also the reason for the early decision to go for the unconventional front-wheel drive principle. Its consistent application, a tradition that Audi maintained undeterred through the years, led to the original Quattro in 1980, the first saloon car with permanent four-wheel drive. Connected with this came the unstoppable string of victories in international motorsport, with such famous drivers as Mikola, Blomqvist and the rally legend Walter Röhrl. Nor should we forget Michèle Mouton, the first woman to win World Championship events in the face of such eminently tough competition. Passive safety for the car's occupants was always an important topic for Audi, long before it became a matter of public interest. Side impact crashes were already being simulated in 1937. Way ahead of its competitors, Audi perfected the first direct injection diesel engine for a passenger car, increasingly important for modern-day economy and environmental acceptance. Prototypes and model studies that have attracted attention and demonstrated fresh innovation on the company's part will soon be integrated into production vehicles as evidence of the continuity of this tradition of commitment to progress. One example is the aluminium body of the Audi A8, rediscovered in the form of the Audi space frame. Being a pioneer and delighting in mastery of the challenges facing our times, that is what the new models now in the pipeline also express, as they once again reveal what is so special about an Audi in modern motoring life.